With iron hands to duel, as he pities the fool, here's your look at the Mattel Masters of the WWE Universe, Mr. T. WWE and Masters of the Universe combine into a powerful force. The Masters of the WWE Universe channel the power with this highly posable action figure, a WWE superstar, as a Masters of the Universe character. Before we talk tea, brisk iced tea. No, not that T. Before we get a closer look at Mr. T, the first thing we're going to want to do is figure out how tall the figure stands. We're going to take the tape measure right to the very top of his mohawk to calculate just how tall T stands. The figure stands 5.8 inches in height. I almost was about to say 0.7, but you can see it's right there. We're going to go with 5.8 and stop it at that. We don't need to go excessive. To go further, though, if you're looking to see what this figure is in centimeters, more than happy to oblige. Mr. T is 14.7, so he's about 14.5 centimeters tall. Due to Mr. T being the first of the Masters of the WWE Universe figures that we're going to be having a look at, sadly I don't have any other figures I can compare him next to. But I can do what I think to be the next best thing. I can bring in some of the other Masters of the Universe Origins figures to show you guys how these figures stack up. Essentially, they are going to be just using the existing molds that we've seen with other figure releases, and because of that, they scale perfectly in. Bringing in He-Man while I was blabbering on, we can also bring in Burt Reynolds. Is that actually Man-at-Arms? Bring in Zodak. I don't feel like I ever bring him in. And hey now, why don't we bring in Many Faces? Just for break things up a little bit. Many Faces has a different body because he does have the spinning head gimmick. Just to kind of give you again an idea how Mr. T can blend in pretty well for the rest of the Master of the Universe Origins figures, even if you aren't somebody that's going to be dedicated to collecting the entire line of Masters of the Universe or Masters of the WWE Universe figures. Let's now check out the accessories to come included with T. He comes first with a comic. Now, before you get super excited by this and think, hey, wow, a mini comic, is every single superstar going to come with their own? That I don't know, but even if they did, I want to show you and reveal the disappointment inside. You can see he's battling Triple H, another T. Maybe they're battling for T's supremacy. I don't know. But on the inside, we're going to flip to the first page. The first page, I'm guessing what will then be continued on with the rest of the mini comics. If you're expecting me then to flip to another page, I can't. This is it. This is all you're getting. Mr. T is forging out something with hammer, and then apparently he's been alerted. He runs out. He's surprised by something. Maybe it's an airplane. You know how he feels about airplanes. And then he points at something that seems to be a talon. A robotic talon? Stay tuned. I don't really know. Nice imaging and similar style of artwork on the inside, but that's it. That's all you're going to be getting. The back, however, does tell you the other characters that make up this wave. Jake the Snake Roberts, Mr. T, The Fiend, Bray Wyatt, and Seth Rollins. Sadly, though, while trying to remove it from its plastic prison, I did fray the cornered edge of it, the little spine part, so my comic isn't intact. And unfortunately, this is the only one and done that I have of this, because I'm probably not going to be buying any more Mr. T's. So, unfortunately, my one comic that I have is a little on the frayed side, a little cut up there. Anyways, we'll put that to the side. We'll now actually have a look at then the accessories that come included with Mr. T. You know, the interesting thing about the Master Universe Origins figure line, or even now branching off and now look at the Master Universe Masters of the WW. I got to make sure I throw that W in there every single time or somebody's going to call me on it. With every single time of looking at either the Origins or the Masters of the WWE Universe figures, if you are looking at some of the figures with parts kind of being seen that we haven't seen before, it sort of serves as a precursor of what you then know is we're going to be getting as future figures. Does that make any sense? Was I just rambling on incoherently? But why I say that is having a look at the accessories that come included with Mr. T. You get two different things that can go on his hands. One is a fist that's all been molded here in gold plastic. It fits inside his fist, and I'll show you guys that in a second. But clearly that looks like Fisto's hand. A figure that was already out now. I haven't yet had a look at it. In fact, actually, that's the only figure I have yet to pick up. but it's clearly his fist. So we already know we've got a fisto. We, however, have this hand here as well, more of a karate chopping hand. It's still molded in the gold plastic, but we haven't gotten this hand before, making me then believe that we're going to be getting ourselves a Jitsu, a figure that we don't have yet, and someone that could then rival Ninjor, the figure that we already have. So I'm guessing that this will be eventually used for Jitsu, because we don't have a Jitsu yet. Again, it's all molded here in gold plastic. Because they are using a gold plastic, you can see some of the marbling that's happening on the surface. See all these little, kind of looks like little fault lines that run across the plastic. It's usually unavoidable when it comes to silver and gold plastic. You don't see it as much here, but it's definitely still there. Anyways, you can go ahead and put this on Mr. T. I suppose it doesn't really matter, but if you're going to follow the formula of knowing that thumbsies go in, then you're probably going to want to put it on this side. So all you literally do is just take this and fit this over Mr. T's hand, just like that, on the one side. Again, probably going to be used for Jitsu. And then we're going to go ahead and take this rather fisto-looking hand. We're going to fit that on the other one. You have to be a little bit more careful on this side because this one does have the thumbs sticking up. Just pop that over place like that. Now you've got Mr. T with both iron hands. I guess these would be more gold hands on his arms. I like the fact that they actually blend in nicely for the torso piece that is on top of the figure's body. Speaking of figures that we have not yet gotten, if this looks rather familiar to you, I'm thinking this will be a slight tease for King Randor. If you look online, even the vintage King Randor had a very similar torso piece like this. So just like that, with Mr. T alone, we have a reveal of a Jitsu and eventually down the road, a King Randor. You can remove the torso piece. I really wouldn't advise doing it though, because unlike the clasp system that we're used to seeing here on the Master Universe Origins figures, Mr. T instead uses almost like a ball peg that fits through this hole. Not only is it difficult to remove, but it's then even more trickier to actually fit that back in place. But essentially what he'd have underneath this is just your traditional Masters of the Universe body, simply just done in a different, darker colored plastic. Getting a closer look at his head sculpt. I guess you could say that's a pretty good likeness of Mr. T. If Mr. T was a cartoon with overly proportioned torso and limbs, yeah, sure, why not? We're going to go ahead and go with that. He does have the beard and trademark shaved sides with the one single. That's usually how it goes, unless you're the singer from Prodigy. I think he had the dual mohawks. But Mr. T is sporting only the single. It's got some nice sculpting in there. They painted it with a very shiny black paint, so it reflects the light just a little bit more. But I like the face sculpt. I think that's really good for Mr. T. The only thing really missing from this is his trademark earrings, depending on where you pull your Mr. T from, either the A-Team, or later on he was in that short-lived Canadian series where I think he teamed up with a lawyer, and they were called TNT. I kid you not, TNT. I would have thrown in there a couple of earrings. Why not? A couple of feathered earrings. You could justify that, I'm sure, on Eternia. He's a good-looking figure, though. Like I said, he's got some bright colors going for him, overlooking, of course, what we already talked about, the torso piece from King Randor. But he does also have the little strap sections here on the side, which I'm sure there probably was already an Ultimate Warrior release of the WWE Universe figures. I'm sure they probably would have used these tassels for that figure as well. He does have alternating colors of blue and red, and you flip it around to the other side, and hey, go figure, it happens to be the same colors, blue and red. That red brightly gets continued on further down below in his lower torso, where he's got these bright, almost wrestling-styled tights in that same still bright color. I don't know why looking at this, it reminds me of taffy or like a fruit roll-up, but he's got some really nice, bright, it's not quite red, it's not quite pink, and it's not quite orange. It's sort of like you blended all three together, and this was the end result of it. Got some knee pads, something that He-Man and the other Masters wouldn't be sporting. And of course, he's got some really bright-looking boots with alternating colors of that red and blue on either side. So he definitely has colors where it counts. He's a very brightly colored figure. And again, even though he does have things that you normally wouldn't expect to see on a Master Universe figure Origins, like, for example, tassels on his elbows or biceps, and certainly also ring gear, again, he still blends in pretty good considering, because he has very similar molds and using a lot of mold elements that we're going to eventually see with future, not WWE releases, but Master Universe Origins releases down the road. I don't know. I know we call him Mr. T and all, but I think they should have found some clever way to incorporate B.A. Baracus into his name. Of course, the name that he has in the A-team. Anyways, we're going to run with Mr. T for the time being. For his head articulation, it's going to be a little bit more limited. Not only is the length of the beard the culprit, but also the fact that he's got such a large torso piece. It really causes problems when it comes to rotating his head back and forth. You can hinge his head up, which if you do it that way, then yes, he can clear that. But it is awfully tight quarters. Head does move up, like I said, does move down, and you can also rock it back and forth as well. Still your traditional articulation when it comes to his arms. The arms hinge out at a 90-degree angle bend, and you can also rotate the arms all the way around. Mr. T also does have a bend in the elbow. You can rotate the forearm. And I guess really to access the hands, you can either choose one of two things. You can have them displayed with the fists and the karate chop in hand on the other side, or you can take that off and get access to his articulation on his hand. The hand rotates all the way around, and you can also hinge them back and forth. Let's get that fist back on there. Get past the thumbs. There we go. For his waist, it swivels back and forth, easy peasy, lemon squeezy. You can split out the legs, a full Van Damme splits on Mr. T. It's got to hurt. You can bring his legs forward and back. He does have a bend at the knee. Though it's concealed underneath a softer rubber knee pad, you can still bend the knee there. He does have lower boot articulation. The boots move up and down, and you can also rock them back and forth as well. Sorry, what? Yes, he does have... Sorry, yeah, I had to just kind of figure out what you were saying. He does have peg holes on the undersides of his feet. And even still, then you can see more of that marbling coming into play. It seems to be everywhere, like I said, that he's got this gold plastic. Mr. T is a fun-looking figure. And sort of benefits us, too, as well, that he made an appearance at WrestleMania. Because if not for that, we wouldn't even be having this discussion. And he certainly wouldn't be getting a Mr. T, Masters of the WWE Universe. I did that again. An actual figure of him. I don't think we would have actually got ourselves a B.A. Baracus. But again, I really think that they probably could have found some clever way to incorporate the name B.A. Baracus somewhere in a read-up, even though the packaging doesn't actually have one. B.A. Attackus? That's all I really have to work with right now. That's pretty lame. We're going to just stop right there. Mr. T, like I said, is a fun-looking figure. And again, one of the benefits of looking at lines like this, even as an extension out from the Masters of the WWE Universe or the Masters of the Universe Origins figures, is again, it gives you little sneak peeks at perhaps things that Mattel is working on behind the scenes, like, for example, a Jitsu, and like, for example, a King Randor, both of which have things that are featured currently on the T-Stir here. Now, I don't know if the Masters of the WWE Universe figures are a little harder to come by in stores, but I couldn't help but notice ordering these online because Canada here, it's not the greatest when it comes to even finding the Master Universe Origins figures line, let alone the Masters of the WWE Universe. But to find these online, they were quite a bit more. Some of the sites were even selling the T-Stir here, Mr. T, for around $60. I would have not paid $60 for it. Considering these figures sell for retail, I would imagine at around that same $15 price point. I would never spend that much money on them. That would be ludicrous. I did, however, find the set of the 4 figures at a reasonable, justifiable price point that I decided to pick them up. And hey, why not? I like the Masters Universe Origins figures, and I like the WWE. Or at least I used to. Don't really watch much of that product anymore. So why not the idea of mixing the two together and coming up with characters that could inhabit the world of Eternia? Maybe they wrestle on the side when they're not battling Skeletor. Maybe, I don't know, Mr. T makes money on the side wrestling, I don't know, The Fiend or Jake the Snake Roberts. Or he's working to solve crimes with a lawyer. TNT. You should seriously look it up. But he's a good-looking figure. And again, even more excited by the fact that we get the things that he's sporting, because you got to think that down the road we are going to be getting ourselves a Jitsu. I'm not somebody that's super championing a Jitsu, but just the idea that we are getting a Jitsu Origins figure, I can make that assumption based on what he has on this figure. And the fact that we're getting a King Randor, just again, solely speculation by the torso piece, that has me excited. And I'm really happy the way that Mr. T ended up turning out. He doesn't come included with the hammer, though. I'm just kind of drawing everyone's attention to the top. But I will say that that artwork is rather nice. I just wish that the comic could have lived up to something a little bit more than just a single-page panel. That's weak. That's weak sauce. What do you guys think of Mr. T from the Masters of the WWE Universe figure line? And let me know if you've actually even been able to find any of these in retail stores. Are they really that hard to come by? And is that really why the price on these figures are so insane? Some of the prices that I'm seeing for these online is crazy. Cray. Don't be cray if you are new to this channel. I promise I'm never going to use the word cray again. If you are new to this channel, make sure you hit that subscribe button down below and turn the bell notification on. That is, of course, all that being said, if you actually like the content you're seeing on this channel, I'd like to think that, if anything, we're not throwing out hot dog meat here. It's all prime cuts with none of the filler. I thought of that all night, actually. But lots of stuff coming your way, guys, so make sure you keep your peepers peeled to this channel. And as always, thanks for watching. See you guys next time.